Hello, welcome to the Metal Cell podcast. I'm here with Donie G and Martin Walsh, two senior members of the metal community of Youghal. And I just want to find out off both of them how they got into metal and stuff like that. So, Mart, where did you start?
I started, I suppose, when I was 13 or 14. A guy called Billy Broderick actually introduced me to Tin Lizzy, and we went from there to listen to the Scorpions. And when I heard Another Piece of Meat, I just thought, oh yeah, this is for me. So from there, it just progressed every year after year, listening to different bands and finding different bands, and it was just a great time to be into metal and that, because I remember we used to be on the street with our ghetto blasters. There could be 10 or 12 of us there together. We used to walk down the street and head to parks out the Strand. And people used to look at us like we had 10 heads, but we didn't care, we just were into the metal and we had our music and we didn't care about anything else,
How old were you then?
I was about 16 or 17, something like that.
And Donnie, did you know Martin at the time, or?
It was kind of a longing to be part of a community, something that was rebellious, something that was interesting, something that took me out of my comfort zone, something that made me want to belong to something. And there was very, very, very few people into heavy metal when I was a kid in Youghal. But I must admit, I mean, one of my heroes is sitting right here beside me, because Martin was and is a fucking legend. Excuse my French. Is a legend and a really genuine nice guy, and he's got all the qualities that I'd like to have in my life. And even in the younger days, Scorpions were, even back in the late 70s, early 80s, Scorpions were a really heavy band. They were extreme at the time. Even think of Blackout and Love Drive and Animal Magnetism. Great albums, and really heavy riffing and great vocals and great bass playing, great drumming. And Martin got me into the Scorpions, to be honest, and I'd always thank him for that.
But I just kind of want listeners to figure out as well, how are you getting those albums? Because I mean, obviously nowadays you just download them and stuff, but back in the day, was there kind of a record shop in Youghal, or how were you getting those albums into Youghal?
To get the metal albums that time wasn't as easy as what it is now, I used to get Alan Prim, in fairness, in Youghal used to get as many albums as he could for us. He was a local record store. But the metal albums were kind of hard to come by. So there was a place in London, a record store in London called Shades, and I used to regularly import albums that used to cost quite a few bob at the time, but you didn't care at the time. You were working, you had a few bob and you were okay. So it went from there then to a guy called Tommy Toy in Dublin. He opened up, when Shades kind of stopped, and Tommy Toy opened up a place called a Sound Cellar in Dublin, and I used to get all my LPs from him after that. And I went from LPs and tapes to CDs, and he actually called me a CD yuppie, because I was one of the first guys who bought CDs off him. So still visit him to this day. Great guy, Tommy Toy, and a great record shop, I have got to say.
Back in the day, I mean, I was probably 15 at the time. I used to call down to Donie's house, and the array of LPs and stuff down there was nuts. You kind of wonder, what were the prices of LPs at the time, and how much did you have to pay to get them over and stuff like that, Donie?
Well, I remember,
a fortune.
Actually, it was quite expensive, I must admit. Your average new release from Shades would have been about $4.99 sterling. Okay, so then, even Kill 'Em All would, for example, have been $4.99, even though it was on Megaforce record label. But depending, like Metal Shirt, for example, now the first album would have been $6.99. But when you convert that from at the time from Irish pounds to sterling, it was quite expensive. But then you had to add in the extra cost of postage, which was quite expensive, and of course the badass thing about it, in those days, you get records posted from Shades to Ireland. Occasionally you might get caught for customs, which is extra money on top of the money you've already paid for your records. Occasionally they might get through without being caught, but generally all your records were plastered with an extra £2 or £3.
I remember a case like that, Donnie. I bought a Gary Moore live album from it was live from Japan or something like that, and I wound up paying about £30 for the album, till the truth, and the customs got a hold of it. Yeah. But I didn't care. I got it anyway,
But it was such a buzz getting those records from Shades. It was like you were buzzed up because you hadn't heard the album before. Whereas now it's so easy to stream things online and download and YouTube and whatever. You can hear an album before you buy it, which is a good thing. Which is great, because nowadays you get that catch-22 situation where you say, oh, I won't buy an album unless I've heard it. But then you hear these albums now, you know what you're going to buy, and you're going to support the bands, which is the most important thing at the end of the day anyway.
That's a good point, actually. But, like, I mean, were a lot of you buying albums by bands that you never heard of before? Were you kind of going by the covers, or was it a gamble buying a band?
It was, because you would go by what... Shades had a little section in Kerrang before, where you said...
Oh, Kerrang magazine, cool.
Yeah. Where they would write down in brackets after a particular album, might be like thrash metal, death metal, black metal, and in a certain case, power metal or whatever. It was kind of cut down that kind of way. Where you might say, like, even for the example, like Sodom, their first album was what was Sodom's first album again? Obsessed by Cruelty. That was the first full album, wasn't it? It was kind of cut down that right, and you kind of pick up an album based on maybe what the recommendation that Sounds might make on the little caption on Kerrang magazine. But you would not be let down. What they say is what you got at the end of the day.
And then again, of course, you're gambling as well, because you're relying on the postman delivering the album. And sometimes were those albums damaged and stuff like that, or were they packaged well enough?
Never got one damaged. And even like you'd wait for Friday to come, Alan Prim, you'd just hope that he had it, and some days you'd be really disappointed that he didn't have it, like, you know. But different times to now, completely different times. But you by looking at the covers, you'd go, oh, this band look cool, I'll try this, like, you know, and that's the way it was, like, you know.
Getting back then, gig-wise in Cork, so we're kind of on about the late 70s, would that be right? Or was it...
Yeah, I suppose really the first time I went to a gig was in the Cork City Hall. I'd say Lizzie was about 1979 or 80, I'd say was the first time I saw Lizzie.
How old did you, Mart?
I was about 16 or 17, yeah. And Lizzie were on the City Hall with who, I can't remember. I saw them 3 times, and they were just an awesome band. Like, it was just a pity the way things went. But the City Hall was a great place for a gig. Saxon were there another time, and like the place was just be rocking. You'd be heaving across, forward to the stage, going sideways. You'd just be swept off your feet, and there was no stage diving at the time. Actually, like, you know.
Yeah,
that must have come in later.
Lizzie were an hour great band, because Lizzie are doing a tour at the moment. They're doing a tour. You're right, Heap at the moment, and Scott Gorham was playing them. But I remember actually. The first time I saw Lizzie was Martin was there. The same gig was 1983 in the City Hall, and I was how old? You were asking me how old I was. I was about 15. You were a couple of years older than me, but I remember standing at the front row, and Phil Innes was playing his bass guitar in front of me, and he was standing about 2 feet away from me, and he was down in his crotch kind of position, plugging his bass, and I was going, and he was right there, only about a foot away from me, and I had this terrible inclination to grab onto his ankle, and I couldn't control myself. I kind of like just touched him vaguely, grabbed his ankle very, very, very gingerly, and he looked down at me, and he kind of kicked my hand away and said, "Get the fuck away from me, you corky fucker."
And kind of again, like the City Hall gigs, like
that was fun.
Kind of Rory Gallagher, Mama's Boys, like Rory probably
Sweet
was.
Savage were one band that were Lizzie.
Mama's Boys supported Lizzie, didn't they?
Mama's Boys supported Lizzie, and one of the other ones, I forget who the third band was, but both them support bands were really good. And Sweet Savage have a linking to Metallica, obviously.
Oh yeah, but
with that tune that Metallica covered, didn't they?
Yeah, but didn't Drive Shaft support Saxon, or was that the other way around?
Drive Shaft did support Saxon. Yeah,
they were good actually. Yeah. Are they still going? Yeah.
No.
Where were Drive Shaft from?
Cork.
Were they Cork band?
Yeah.
Okay, can you?
Donnie has the EP.
Yeah, no way.
That he gave to me recently,
Yeah,
I put it onto my laptop.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
a Cork band and heavy metal or rock were they?
Mick Maher, that is the drummer with the wedding band Arcadia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He was in that band, and a guy.
They were bloody good too.
Oh, what's the guitarist's name? Oh man, I can't think of his name, but yeah, they were a good band. They used to come to the Ocean in Youghal, the Ocean Bar in Youghal. Yeah.
Let's go back a while.
So kind of that you brought it up then. So kind of the only back in the day then. So the only Irish bands that I would have known would have been Mama's Boys and Tin Lizzy. So there was Drive Shaft and who else?
Oh, there was loads of local bands. Like we used to go to the Ocean there
in Youghal.
Youghal, called the Spinning Wheel and whatever it was called afterwards. And There used to be rock bands on there the whole time, as well as a DJ called Mick Sheehan, and
That's right, yeah.
the place used to be rocking Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Even the disco there was a metal section where you could get out on the floor and put your head down and everyone would be going.
Back then, I suppose, Rainbow, Deep Purple, they were all hitting
Spot
this.
on.
Okay.
Exactly, that's what it was. And there used to be a slow section too, like, that they don't have anymore.
But so that was the City Hall. So that was the main place for gigs in Cork. And then would you have gone to Dublin much or what back in the day?
Oh
I know.
yeah, we went plenty. Yeah.
Well, actually, I must admit the first time now that I actually went to Dublin was with Richie, my good friend Richie McCarthy, who's over in New York at the moment. We went up on the 14th of September 1986 to see Metallica and Anthrax play in the. Was it a Top Hat, Martin? Was it?
No, SFX.
Oh, SFX, yeah, SFX, yeah. Because I remember well, it was we stayed in Isaac's hostel just off Gardner Street, and I remember at the time thinking after we left the gig that was song set list because they played 5 songs of Master of the Puppets, they played 5 songs of Ride the Lightning, they played 4 songs of Kill 'Em All. They did one, obviously, the bass solo by Cliff Burton. They played one cover version, which was obviously Diamond Head, Am I Evil? And it was a wicked gig. Now, if they asked me the name of the songs of Kill 'Em All and Ride Lightning and Master Puppets, that's a long story. But I could give it a good guess now, but it could probably bore the life out of the listeners doing that, anyhow.
You didn't meet him, no? Afterwards?
No, I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't know. But I think at that stage, Metallica had become such a... They were, even in '86, they were huge. They had such a cult following, so well known internationally. It wasn't a case like it, as I said to Martin earlier about meeting Testament after the Anthrax gig only a few months later, where Chuck, Billy, and Eric and the boys were just walking around the car park, having a beer, talking to people. I think Metallica, even at that stage, knew they were superstars, but unfortunately, we had such a tragic accident only a couple of weeks later after that, which took the life of Cliff Burton, which really upset the whole metal community and really kind of put us in our place in the sense of, like, we obviously, our condolences went to Cliff's himself and his family, of course, and it was tough going because the band were really on a whirlwind and really selling at that stage. Master of Puppets was hitting on platinum sales and doing exceptionally well, and the band were getting worldwide recognition and touring constantly, and they put a lot of hard work in, and it was a big kick in the ass. But anyhow, let's move on. Okay.
I think actually, Mart, you met Metallica, is that correct? What year and where, or what was the story?
I met Metallica. Myself and Helen were in Shades in London.
Helen, your
in
wife?
1985, I think it was. And they were going to play their first Donington, as we'll call it, download now. And we were in London one day. We went to Shades to buy some LPs or whatever it was. And there was a big poster on the door that Metallica would be signing albums and etc. the following day. So I said to Helen, we'll definitely come back tomorrow. I know we might be going home. I said, well, we have to come back. So we went back the following day and we got in the queue to see Metallica. And bought a couple of EPs. Creeping Death was one of them, I think. And we got them to sign them. We got a couple of photographs that I have at home, proudly at home.
Of who?
Of Cliff Burton, that passed away a few weeks after we saw them in Dublin.
Jeez, cool.
Helen has a photograph with James Hetfield, and I have a photograph with Lars and Cliff Burton. So I have them. I cherish them at home. So not many people get to see them, but they are.
Yeah, I actually brought a camera to that Metallica gig, but it was one of those kind of disposable yokes, where you take a photograph, and I took loads of photographs of Cliff Burton, and I thought, wow, I'm going to get some great photographs. I brought them back, got them processed, and they all came out blank.
Oh, Jesus.
But he was Cliff Burton, like,
we
saw him on stage. I only saw him once that time, and he was just the windmill used to call him. He was his hair used to be from start to finish. He was just buzzing around, like, he was unbelievable.
Stage presence, yeah. Because I've spoken to a lot of Metallica fans who actually think that the best player Metallica ever had was Jason Newsted, but because Jason's probably technically, I don't know, maybe technically better, I don't know. But I thought, seeing, as you said yourself, I saw Cliff Burton playing a stage with Metallica, and I thought he had an amazing stage presence. He looked the part, he played a part, and the rest of the guys, just they clicked so well at the time. It was fantastic. Yeah. And I'm glad we were there to see him, because obviously
we would never saw him again after that. Like, it was only a couple of weeks later he died. Like,
That's true, yeah, which is very tragic.
It was a troubled period then afterwards, and then obviously Jason Newsted joined. But I can remember going down to Donie's and with a TDK cassette going, Donie, can you give us some albums there? And one of them that he gave us was Master of Puppets. And I'll never forget it. It was just like, wow. Because being a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, I was broke and stuff like that. So we just had the tape recorder, myself and Timmy. After that, then we just kind of started pestering Donie for as much as possible on a Friday night, going down with blank TDKs, hoping that Donie would kind of put on some good stuff. But what was your recollection of those times, Donie?
Well, I think the 80s were a particularly strong time for thrash metal. I'm sure Martin would agree. We a lot of class bands. I mean, Testament and Violence and Metallica and Anthrax and Megadeth and obviously Slayer and Sepultura because there's such a thing on the internet about you pronounce it Sepultura or Sepultura. Who gives a crap? Anyhow, the Brazilian guys, those days, there were some great times in the 80s. I mean, spent a lot of money, went to a lot of gigs. Fortunately, I was that kind of teenage years when I was kind of going up to Dublin to see a lot of bands.
But look, Donie, the bottom line was they were the best days of our lives.
Yeah, I agree, Martin. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, a bit of a pain in the ass because I was always going the back of Richie Mac's bike, and I always came up to Dublin with a big, massive pain in the ass. But it's worth it, though.
But kind of in relation to the two of you, I thought it was different because, like, kind of you definitely, Donie, went kind of towards the black metal scene, which was kind of Celtic Frost, Venom, and stuff like that. Can you just kind of describe how you kind of got into that more so than Rainbow and Deep Purple and stuff?
Yeah, well, my sorry for monopolize the conversation for a few minutes, but yeah, as you say, I was very much so into the classical rock kind of music, and I always will be, and I always loved that. Ryan James Dio was my favourite singer of all time, but and I love his Long Live Rock and Roll, Rainbow Rising, all that kind of stuff. But I was always looking for something that was a bit more kind of extreme, a bit more heavy, a bit more to the limits of what you can do or musically. Not that it was any kind of musically kind of copious myself, but what I'm saying is that I okay, Venom. It's kind of the Venom say. Okay, Venom. I think Venom kind of broke the mold in a certain extent, because in 1982 when they released black metal, well, I know Welcome to Hell was obviously released in 81, but I didn't get Welcome to Hell. I got black metal when it was released. I got a copy in 83. A friend of mine from London picked it up for me and dropped it back over there, and then that kind of broke the mold. And I know Metallica were very heavily influenced by Venom. And there were certain bands like Battery and Merciful Fate and Celtic Frost, bands that I really liked, but they were kind of more extreme. They were getting terrible reviews in all the magazines. They were called like crap. Battery's first album was called A Total Disaster, which is not. And R.I.P. Quarton, great guy, and miss all his music. But yeah, what I kind of always wanted to kind of like expand my musical kind of horizons, in a sense that I like extreme music. I like blast beats. I like tremolo picking. I like good fast bass lines. I like really aggressive vocals. I like music that kind of makes me get up off the bed and trash around the room rather than to lie down and just wallow or whatever. Yeah, anyhow, I'm going on. What I'm saying is that yes, Venom, Merciful Fate, all these kind of bands that kind of defined who I am and who I am now. Why I'm sitting down here is because of these bands. If I wasn't influenced by these bands, I wouldn't be here.
But I remember you telling me a good story about, I think it might have been Venom, the first Venom album. You brought it to maybe Martin and a few of them. He's laughing here. Could you just tell the listeners about which Venom or what happened there?
Well,
or Martin, do you want to?
Well, no, I mean, it's like, no matter what you say about music, some people like certain kinds of music, some people don't like it. Some types of musical direction doesn't suit other people, and I find I'm cool with that, because my daughter brings music to me and I go to her, well, I'm not really into that, but okay, I might listen to it some other time. But and as I say, I mean, music is music. Music is what you're into. Music is what boils your piss. Music is what boils your blood. Music is what music is what wakes you up in the middle of the night and wants to put on a CD or an album. Music is what gets in your blood, gets in your brain, gets in your aura, and that's what you are. But
Yeah.
if you're something else, you're something else. And music is probably one of the most biggest creations that ever existed in humanity. Be it the wheel, be it the pyramid, music is what it is. Music is a personal thing. Music is something we can all appreciate, something we can all understand, and sometimes music is something that we can pass on to somebody else, somebody, a daughter, a son, a friend, whatever. And if they like it, they like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. And I respect that. That's as far as I can go with that.
As my woman goes, she'd always say to me, your music comes first, Man United comes second, and I come third, maybe. She says,
I love it.
But I remember then kind of going to Marty then for other kind of music, because I mean you were definitely Mart into your guitarists. I always felt more so than kind of the singers and stuff like that, because I remember calling up to yourself and Helen's flat over it might have been Irwin's, maybe somewhere around there in your
Ross's flats,
yeah, and
long time ago, kid.
yeah, of course, yeah. But I mean, again, you had a different side of music to Donie,
I did, completely, yeah.
And it was kind of a lot. It was maybe Joe Satriani and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Can you just talk
Even
through
though
how did you get into that?
Even though Donie and myself had a lot in common, we had the metal bands in between with Metallica and all them bands. But I came up with AC/DC and Lizzie and Scorpions and all that stuff. And then I started hearing these guys, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Vinnie Moore, and it was just unreal. And they were all instrumental albums, and I just, when I heard these guys, I just went, wow. And still to this day, I love hearing guys playing guitar and stuff like that, like, you know.
Would you get an opportunity to ever see these lads when they were releasing those albums? They were kind of mainly...
No, they were mainly in America, like, you know. You wouldn't see many of them here. I saw Yngwie Malmsteen actually in the Top Hat in, I nearly said Fermoy, but in the Top Hat in Dunleary, and he was obnoxious. He was unreal. He was probably the best guitarist that I've ever seen in my life, the way he played it. I couldn't get over him. He was unreal. To this day, I says to Helen, like, that night was unreal. He was just amazing. He had songs that time, actually, and they were quite good albums. He had a couple of albums with Jordan Turner that used to be with Rainbow, and I really liked that stuff. So he was one of the guys that I did get to see. He wasn't... I don't think I met the guys from another band afterwards, and they said he was just hard to deal with, like, you know, which he probably was, because he probably thought he was top of the world and the king of the world. Like, still to this day, I've seen Gary Moore and I've seen many more guitars. He was just unbelievable.
When was that, Mart, roughly?
That was in the Top Hat, I'd say, in the early 90s, 91, 92, that kind of a way, like, you know.
Kind of, again, when you look at the 90s, I kind of feel that that was a tough time in relation to, because that's what I love, thrash metal. It kind of just died a death with kind of grunge and stuff like that. And kind of, we all kind of had to take a step back and kind of go, I wonder, is metal kind of dying? Because of course Metallica released the Black Album and stuff like that, and kind of then after that it was just kind of a vacuum where there was no kind of real good thrash bands and stuff. I think that's probably where a lot of people kind of went into kind of either black metal and stuff or new metal and stuff, or you kind of jumped on with the grunge. So it's kind of hard in one way, but I kind of definitely remember Acid Rain coming to Cork and trying to persuade you to go to a Mart. And I think it was in Sir Henry's, but have you any recollections in relation to that gig? Because
oh Jesus, I have.
just tell what happened. Tell the lads what happened there.
Wayne Fitzgerald, I think, was with me. I don't know who else went. You were there, and Donie was there, I think, as well. And man, I love just standing back and watching the bands just do whatever they wanted to do. But this night, Wayne Fitzgerald said to me, "Go on, get up. You must get up." Like, and two guys lifted me onto their shoulders, man, and there wasn't enough big enough crowd there. And so what happened to me? Just fell straight down on my ass, my back, and hopped my head off the ground. And I said, "That is the first and last time I'll be doing that shit."
Brilliant. But I think then kind of really for a short period of time, bands started coming to Cork, which was unusual. And we had venues like Nancy Spain's in Cork, which hosted Obituary, which I'll never forget.
And Cerebral Fix.
Cerebral Fix, yeah.
That's correct. Yeah. Great gig.
Paradise Lost came there.
I missed that gig.
Yeah, there was a lot of activity suddenly in Cork, and then I think kind of the Crushkin Lawn then kind of sprouted up after that.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I mean, Donie, I mean, Jesus, you saw Boltrower there.
Yeah, it Crushkin Lawn really kind of took off as a venue. I think it's Tom from Fred Zeppelin's kind of run the place at the time. But with so many bands playing there, we had, as you say, we had actually Exes played there one night, which was a fantastic gig. And we had Bolt Thrower, we had Decapitated, we had numerous bands big name bands that played in the Crushkeen Lawn, 1349, Gorgoroth, if you're into your black metal, really played really well. Actually met the members of Gorgoroth anyway, afterwards. Really cool people, but it was kind of unusual to see such big names band. Cannibal Corpse played there one night, but and the buzz was really good for such a long time. I remember going to so many gigs up there. Primordial played there, Donie and Martin, all these bands, and I remember going to see Primordial one night, and of course I had to drive up. I couldn't drive back, so I drank a shitload of beer, and I fell asleep in the car outside afterwards for the night. I couldn't drive back that night because I had about 20 pints. It was even an ordeal driving back the following day. Don't tell the police. But anyway, in more important things besides my beer consumption, it was a great time. But I think what really, I don't know what really happened in Cork, because there was such a buzz. I remember going to one particular gig in a Crushkeen by a band from Singapore called Impiety. I had two of their albums, and I really liked the band, and went in, and there was two people behind the counter, and the support band were really good. I can't remember their name. They were an English band, but when Impiety came on, eventually it was a support band, myself and two of my friends and two other guys. There was about 10 people at the gig, and I said, you know something? I think Cork is kind of waning when it comes to the support for bands that are arriving here, and there were a lot of good Cork bands too around the same time. And unfortunately, I think the promoters are obviously suffering big time. They weren't making any kind of, they were not there to make money in the first place, but they weren't making any kind of they weren't even cutting even. Basically, they were losing money. So if you're making an investment in the music in any kind of venue or any kind of area, if you're losing money, you love the music, but when it comes out of your pocket, you're going to suffer. So I think Limerick has definitely taken up the slack at the moment. A lot of good bands up there. I was very fortunate to see Destroyer 666 there last year with my good friend Richie, which I'm talking here, and a great Limerick band, Zella Cult, who are doing very, very well. And if you haven't checked out their debut album, which took about 40 years to come out, but it's here eventually, and it's very, very good. You can buy it off the band. Really cool. Check it out. Back to you, Rich.
Yeah, it's a good point actually with Limerick. It's just frustrating for us in Cork. I mean, just kind of forgetting international acts and European acts there that they don't seem to be coming anymore. But luckily enough for us, the local scene is fantastic. But I just want to kind of go back to Martin there, because I mean, with the Crushkeen Lawn, I mean, it was extreme bands that were coming there, and I suppose you didn't kind of really get up to see much of them, Mark. But I do. No. I'm really glad that we did bring you to Limerick, to Dolan's, to see Corrosion of Conformity.
Yeah, absolutely. But I got to say one thing, we saw Y&T at the Crushkeen.
Y&T, yes, there you go.
You were, Richie, you were there, Donie was there. We some night, my ears were blown off me, it was so loud. I was there for 3 days. But I went to see COC in Limerick with the boys there back in November or something like that. Got to say, I enjoyed it. We had a great crack. Timmy, Terry, myself and Richie went up, and we had a great drive up, and Timmy was driving, but he wasn't drinking, so we had a great crack on the way. A few beers and drove him mad, but COC, I have their early albums, good band, and put on a great show, yeah, in fairness, yeah.
I actually remember seeing them supporting Metallica. I think it could have been
In the Point.
It was In the Point. Yeah. I'm not sure what album was that. Were you at that?
Wise Blood, I'd say, was it? Yeah, it was around that time. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So Metallica kind of had the rig set up, so kind of if you were watching it, the whole rig collapsed around, and there was guys falling left, right, and centre.
That's
so
correct. Yeah.
So yeah,
I came away from that actually not convinced that there was someone after getting hurt. Tell you the truth, it was very good.
What year was that, Martin? I missed that one. I must have been abroad somewhere, was I?
It was
93?
Yeah,
I'd
around
guess.
that, yeah. Around that, yeah, because the Black Album was about 91, I think. They were on the Point as well, yeah.
Like Metallica definitely have come to our shores a few times, but I mean, I remember got to see them in the RDS. I think Linkin Park actually supported them, but when they came on stage, Linkin Park were just, people just threw bottles at Linkin Park. You know, they were just not appreciated. You know, what were they doing on the bill, you know?
You can take that as you leave it. Like Avenged Sevenfold, I see fellas not liking them either, but like, you must give people a chance, and I like them bands. Donnie likes the death metal scene more,
Actually, I
more
like
than that, like,
you
you
know,
know.
that City of Sin album you gave me, Avenged Sevenfold. That's a good album. I really enjoy
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I kind of like it. And Nightmare's a good album.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm very
yeah.
open-minded. I'd like Avenged Sevenfold, everything from Avenged Sevenfold to the most extreme black metal you could ever imagine.
But like, you can go on Facebook every day of the week and people put up stuff, and when you see the dissing that goes on behind it, I just go, why do you do it? Just don't bother, like, you know, please, like, you know, it just drives me crazy, like.
Yeah, because again, you know, you're old school, you know, and you kind of, back in the day, you wouldn't see the criticism because obviously the internet wasn't around as much. But I mean, nowadays, you seem to have access to every band, which is through Spotify and stuff like that. So, you know, you're spoiled for choice. And the main thing I kind of want to kind of talk to you about is try and get you back to going to gigs locally anyway, boys, because, you know, just to try and get the scene supported. But I know, again, it's the quality and stuff.
Must just say about our local place, The Clock, in
Youghal,
Youghal.
yeah.
From when we were 16 or 17, there was great rock bands came from all around the place to there, like, you know, every weekend. And you met some great bands that, like, were young and starting out. It was just a great pub. It was a great place to see a rock band.
I just want to ask you there about maybe some of your most memorable gigs.
Yeah, all I could say is every Metallica gig that I've been at over the years, I've never been disappointed by them. An absolutely great band. But in the early days, I can remember going to see Lizzie. I actually went to see AC/DC in the RDS in 1982, I think it was. And there was a support band with them called Y&T. And I just went, man, who are this band? They're awesome. And I thought on the night, AC/DC were outstanding. It was a great gig.
Which tour was that? Or which album
For
was it?
Those About to Rock,
Cool.
it was really in the best years of AC/DC. Like, you know, that was a great album. I know probably Black and Black was considered the best album. I saw this band for the first time, Y&T. They were on the undercard, and I just thought they were amazing. And I said to Helen, Jesus, this band are unreal. And I've been listening to them ever since. Just a great band, very underrated. Never got the credit that they should have deserved. Like, should have been on the big stage, really. Like, you know, Ozzy, I saw him on the Ultimate Tour scene in Dublin, and with Shaky Lee, and it was just amazing, just outstanding. They were like with the Lizzie gigs in the early days. They were great gigs. Were in '83. There was a festival on in Dalymount Park. Black Sabbath were headlining it. Ian Gillan was singing with Black Sabbath, which was really strange. But
Yeah, that's a cool one.
it was the first and only time I saw Black Sabbath, and it was a really good day. We had a great day out. There were some great bands on there: Twisted Sister, Anvil, Motorhead, Diamond Head.
What were Motorhead like?
Motorhead didn't have a good day, I gotta say. I don't know for what strange reason, but they started. Brian Robertson was playing guitar with them at the same time, the ex-Lizzie guitarist, and it didn't go down well. And for whatever reason, Lemmy took a switch, and they walked off the stage.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did. Yeah.
And what album was that? 1983.
It was in 1983. Motorhead album was in 1983. They called that album actually.
Jesus,
yeah, I think it
that's-
was. Yeah,
and they
Brian
were
Robertson
really-
was on it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually wasn't too interested in Twisted Sister, but I gotta say, Dee Snider was just a great front man.
Tony, we saw them in Bloodstock. Was it last year, Twisted Sister, or the year before that? I think
Yeah, we did. We saw Twisted Sister. I
they
think
were
it,
brilliant. I couldn't believe how good they were.
I think he was kind of posted at the time as probably their last ever UK
Yeah,
gig.
yeah.
But I know Dee has brought out an album only recently, a solo album, which has been getting great reviews, which is kind of cool and good for him. And he's always been a very outspoken person when it comes to heavy metal. He's always stood up for the philosophies of heavy metal and has never taken any shit from anybody. And
Yeah.
you got to respect him for that. But getting back to your original question about what kind of gigs are most memorable in my time, which has been the last 30 odd years, I'd have to say I go with Martin about with Y&T. Unfortunately, I didn't see Y&T when they supported AC/DC in Ireland back in the Thunder and Lightning tour. Sorry, for those about the rock tour, can't think of AC/DC. Yeah, I got a chance to meet Dave Menichetti and his beautiful wife. What's her first name? Jill. Yeah, Jill. What a cool cat. Because went up with Martin twice there over the years, and then they actually ended up playing in the Crushkeen lawn for a show, and it was really cool. And I met Jill at the the merchandise counter, and she was like, "Oh," she said to me, "Oh, you didn't have to travel so far to see us this time," because she knew I was from Cork, and she was really cool, like, you know. And at the same time, Dave was up on the stage playing a song called "Dirty Girl," and I turned over to Jill and I said, "Jill, did Dave write that song about you?" And she said to me, "Oh, Donie, don't be so stupid. That song was written, that song was written well before he knew me." But anyhow, getting back to the gigs that I remember, obviously I remember not too much of Black Sabbath, because I went to see Black Sabbath there about 2 years ago. They played in the Point Arena when Ozzy was up to scratch, and he actually performed vocally really, really, really good. I was well impressed, and the rest of the band were in top form, I must admit. But well, getting back to bands who I always wanted to see was Venom over the years, because I've been a huge Venom fan. And I got an opportunity to see Venom Bloodstock a couple of years ago, and they played on a very sunny afternoon. I could barely see Cronus. And they were brilliant. Rage was playing on the guitar, and Dante on drums, and Dante is some drummer, like. And Cronus has got a great backing band. Well, I don't know, backing band, whatever. There's such a debate going on about who's the real Venom and who's not the real Venom. Is it Venom Inc.? Is it Venom? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Once you enjoy the music, that's the most important thing. But then you get the bands like Bolshoi, another good British band from Birmingham.
Did you actually meet the singer or something like that?
Yes, I did. Well, I just gotta say R.I.P. Martin Kearns, because he was the most amazing drummer, solid drummer, great guy, and we're sorry he's passed. But I did. I seen Martin playing with Carl and the boys, and Joe Bench. Of course, Joe is a really, really sexy bass player, as we all know, and she was kind of like. She's well protected by the band, obviously, because you don't want like a horde of zombies attacking her during a gig. But yeah, I met Carol after the gig, and I think at that stage of the game, I was kind of, after drinking copious amounts of drink, which we all do at a gig anyway, because that's what heavy metal is all about, drinking and having fun and horns up and having a crack. But a friend of mine introduced me to Carol, but unfortunately I might have tripped over a lead or something, because I kind of fell down the floor in front of him, and he didn't really appreciate it, but it doesn't matter. I just about grabbed his hand before I hit the deck, but it was all good anyhow. It was all good. And of course, then you got gigs like the marquee gigs in London when I was over there in the early 90s. You got bands like Nocturnus and Napalm Death and Gangrene and all these bands, and actually Bolshoi as well that particular time.
You actually saw Gangrene?
I did, yeah. Gangrene were amazing.
What were they like?
Wow. That was, I remember Gangrene for one specific reason. That was because of the professionalism of the stage diving.
Wow.
Yeah, because I've been to other gigs previous where stage diving is done, where it's done very unprofessional, where people get hurt.
Professional stage diving.
Yes, exactly. So what we had was in Gangrene, and it played out. Oh, they were so cool. Really good hardcore rock music. What you do is you stand up beside the speaker, you walk across a bit of a kind of a step of a stage, and you put your hands up, and people with their hands up, and you dive in. It's kind of a circle of stage diving, and it was done so well that it gets completely contagious. So you can't help. You get back up, you get back down.
Did you actually stage dive? Is that what you're trying to say?
I thought it must be done about 50 times.
You did?
In the space of about an hour, I must have staged like 50 times.
So what happened to me that night at Acid Rain?
Well, I think you were at the wrong crowd.
There was no one there.
Yeah, there was no. You should have been with me, buddy. I would have caught you. I ought to make sure you didn't bang your head off the ground, dude. But you're a big guy, Mark. You know what I mean?
I am, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like a baby. Come on, like a baby.
Well, bands like Gangrene, that was in the marquee in London when I was over there. I was there, fortunately, for a couple of years when I couldn't get an employment in Ireland. But anyway, it was good times. Other bands, like Demolition. I went to a great gig one night up in North London in Camden Town. There was 4 bands playing. Demolition Hammer came on first. Great band, really good trashy kind of stuff. I really enjoyed it. I'd heard about the band. I heard the first album, which was really cool. And then the band called Morgoth came on, a German band, really, really cool. I had their stuff as well, Eternal Fall, some of that stuff was really cool. And then, of course, Cancer. Cancer hadn't had their second album, it was the first album that came out at the time. It was fucking Cancer. It was, well, anyway. But anyway, Obituary headline, James Murphy was playing. Fantastic show. Amazing, because there was a bit of aggression going on in the audience. There was a big guy. He must be almost 6'10". and he was running around the place, waving his arms and busting people's heads up, and I was standing aside, and he was getting the pit was going mad, and I was going, fuck this anyhow. So anyhow, I saw these two English guys who were looking at him as well, and we said we'd make a plan. So this guy was busting everybody up. So what I did was, I actually jumped up in the guy's back, grabbed him around the neck, okay? And the two English guys who I just befriended only about 10 minutes earlier took one leg each. And what did we do? We took him down like Goliath. He went down like a ton of fucking bricks. Happy days.
Yeah, these are the memories that you just...
Come here, I just got to tell you a recent memory. Okay. I just got to tell you a recent memory. We went to see Slash and Wild Kennedy in the Point a couple of years ago. Myself and Joe and Helen, and it was a great night, great gig. Love Alter Bridge and Slash. But Y&T were playing the following night in... I forget where, Wexford Street or somewhere, and went on the beer, of course, after the night before, at 12 o'clock in the morning. Y&T weren't playing till 8:30 or 9 o'clock that night. Got in, he was loving the gig. Helen's back's not good, so she sat down over at the side with an old lady. She kills me for this.
An old lady at the gig?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know who the old lady was? Phil Lynnett's mother.
Oh, cool.
Right, okay.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So Helen comes over to me. She said, Phil Lynnett's mother's over there. She said to me, and I goes, no, you joking? I said, no way. I said. So she said, she is. So we're going out of the gig, and these guys are showing us their photographs with Phil Lynnett's mother. And Helen goes, you're some prick, she said to me.
Totally missed out on the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And kills me since over it. And never seen Queen. She loves Queen. Not going to Queen. She comes to every gig with me. And she still kills me over Queen.
Queen.
Yeah.
Now, I know both of you love Scorpions. Have you ever actually seen them live?
Yeah.
When and where?
I've luckily seen them. I mean, it would be nice to see them more. But I've seen them in about 1991 in Wembley Arena with Cormac Goggin was staying in London at the time, and I went to see them, Scorpions, with them, and that tour. Winger were supporting them. It was a great gig. But
good band.
I got to see them in 2008 with Tommy Hutton, my good friend, in the Hammersmith Uphala, and it was just probably the best gig that I ever saw. These guys are not young fellas, but they just put on an amazing show and have the best tunes of any band anywhere, and I just still love that band.
Well, you must admit that when it comes to Scorpions, actually I'll admit, I'll put my hands up, I've never seen them live. But saying that, I mean, when I think of Scorpions, I think of Coast to Coast. Those kind of that instrument is just amazing. Mm-hmm. Because the first Scorpions album I ever bought was Blackout in 1982 from Alan Prim. Okay, and he used to sell vinyl and CDs and whatever.
So he had Scorpions for sale.
Yeah. So I actually asked Alan, could he pick up a copy of Scorpions Blackout, which had so many classic songs, and
I actually bought that album in Easton's in Cork. They used to have a record store upstairs.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it, and I got it. It was an amazing album.
It was like your good self Martin put me on the Scorpions, because the previous album would have been Animal Magnetism.
Correct, yeah.
And the album before that would have been Love Drive.
Yeah.
So then, we see, I think that before that, then you're going back into the 70s kind of with Udi John Roth.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Because I remember, God bless my dad, when he went to America years ago, I said to him, if you can pick me up a copy of the album Flight to the Rainbow, which was actually Scorpion's second album. I think the first album was Lonesome Crow, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I actually gave them to you alone on vinyl years ago. Didn't I?
You did, Donie. Yeah.
Let's come back a while now.
Yeah. If you think about it, that band are going since the early 70s. And they are still touring today, selling out arenas all over the world. It's incredible.
It's nuts. Yeah,
it
is nuts.
But I think Klaus Ment turned 70 recently.
But I think
70?
Yeah, I mean, like, even
incredible.
I mean, the album after Blackout, Love at First Thing, would rock you like a hurricane. That was a big American, that blew them big time, you know. And Genuine, fair folks, they're a German band, and they're a German band, and they sing in English. And my second favourite German band would be Rammstein, who have a new album coming out very soon after about 9 or 10 years. and it should be quite good because I actually was very, very fortunate to see Rammstein play in the Tree Arena in Dublin.
Yeah, I was at that.
And
One
that
of the
was-
best gigs
that
I
was
was ever
that
at.
was quite an amazing show. Really, really good tunes, great performers, no bullshit. What you see is what you get. It was amazing.
But I'll just throw it out to you there. What do you think is the formula that German bands have that they're so good? I mean, you could go, okay, Scorpions, you've got Creator, you've got Destruction,
Halloween.
you've got Halloween, Sodom. What, in your own opinion, what makes them so good at what they do? Is it just because they're German?
Well, that's kind of a question.
Teutonic, Trash, you mean Tankard, you know?
Accept.
I think it's
Except, yeah, Fast as a Shark.
Great band.
Wow.
But go back to your question, what makes them so good? I think it's just the fact that they want to be good. They want to perform. They want to play music. They want to play live. They want to record music. They want to just be what they can be. Because I'm sure a lot of people think that American music and British music or UK music that's the end, be all and end all. But there's a lot of good music come from Greece, come from Ukraine, come from Russia, especially in the kind of music I'm into. And I got obviously the Scandinavian scene is huge. I mean, you can get a Grammy in Scandinavia for perform music, but once it's good music and people appreciate what you're doing, you don't have to get chart topping music just to be recognized as being a good performer and a good musician, because it's what you do, it's what you want to do, and it's important to yourself. And as you say, it's all about music.
But I mean,
basically.
yeah, it's true. But I mean, Rammstein would probably be the best example of that with Scorpions. I'm sure the two of them together
well,
would have dominated the charts.
Well, Rammstein are just phenomenal. I mean, they're one of the biggest bands in the world. They can. I'm not trying to plug Rammstein here. I'm just saying that I've seen them once, and I've seen them in a crowd of 12,000 people, and they're there not just to make money. I just got that feeling off them. They're not just to make money. They're there to entertain. Just to make sure that anybody who goes there has a good time and will go home and say to their kids or their grandparents or whoever, I've just been to a Rammstein gig and I really bloody well had enjoyed it immensely, and I recommend it. Next time they play, I'll go and see them.
Are you a fan, Mart?
No.
No.
There's nothing for me at
Yeah,
all.
okay.
Yeah.
Donny, what about the Irish metal scene at the moment? Kind of in relation to kind of what's out there?
Well, of course, I mean, there's a lot of fantastic talent in Ireland at the moment. I mean, we've already mentioned bands, like the Zelig Cult and a great band from Limerick, and obviously the guys from the Swamp would be like 10 Ton Slug, and the guys from up the country, Eternal Hell Carax, and you've Crack na Dieta, and you Soothsayer, and a lot of good bands from Cork and Rabbit Bitch from the north. The Irish scene is really good, and we're kind of coming together to a certain extent. I'm looking forward now to I think it's the 24th of February, Urban Assault up in Cork. That's cool. We got that going on. Of course, you got Siege of Limerick, which is coming on later on, which is brilliant. I mean, I don't really know the promoters personally, but I must compliment them on the effort and the enthusiasm and the genuine interest they have in the music and promoting Irish bands and promoting venues, and just it's not so much about being too kind of laid back. You just gotta get in there, and I'm not making excuses for myself here by saying I can't get more involved. I want to get more involved, but when you're working hard, and it doesn't matter. Metal is metal. Irish is Irish. I think being Irish is basically being metal.
Guys that went to all those gigs back in the 80s and 90s, they seem to kind of have lost touch with the scene, and the scene itself at the moment has never been so exciting. But again, it's the type of music they're playing. Would it appeal to you, Martin, who likes these guitarists to perform these fantastic solos and stuff? Because you don't really get that.
I won't see that anymore. My time is coming to an end now, I think, with this kind of stuff. No, the music will always be there, but I think the only kind of scene that's in Ireland at the moment is probably what Donie is into there. Like, there's no ordinary metal guitarists and good singers and everything like that, really great singers in the scene. Music in the pubs, as rock music is concerned, is dead. People won't hire them unless you go to a death metal gig or something like that, and it's a bit kind of sad. places like the Clock and the Ocean used to have them.
In Youghal.
Yeah, where Big General used to play, Monkfish used to play, different bands like that, different rock bands like that. And there's no place for any of them now. And it's kind of sad to see, really, in a way. There's no place for me to go now, really.
So basically, kind of what you're saying is that for your age profile,
Old age.
I know. Donie is kind of going what, but like you're kind of a traditionalist in relation to heavy metal. You like it played with guitar solos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you're looking at basically, I suppose, Dublin really for your gigs in relation to what's coming in touring wise.
Yeah.
And of course, Dublin is so expensive then as well, isn't it?
It's just so much. It's just so costly to go up there for the night. I've always done it over all the years. We'd stay overnight just to see a band. But in recent times, I've just gone up on the one off with my son down. I drive up and he'd drive back, like, you know. But it's just too costly, like, you know.
So, in relation to, before we close it, in relation to the great hopes of heavy metal, could you name out one or two ones that you can see yourself thinking, yeah, they could actually be the next Metallica? Or
Look,
I know it's really hard to kind of say, oh yeah, who's going to replace Metallica? You know, any kind of bands there to stick out for you at the moment?
I just can't understand it. Over all these last 20 or 30 years, there's nobody come and taken their crown. I thought Trivium, I thought Avenged Sevenfold, they're not everyone's taste, but I do like them bands. I just don't know where metal is going. Can it keep going? Rock music will always live on anyway, no matter what happens, like, you know, but I don't know.
Donnie, what about you? Again, who can take up the mantle of Metallica? I mean, we were lucky in our lifetime to be there. I mean, what about the next Iron Maiden? You know, we've really been spoiled for choice. I mean, what's out there at the moment? From my own personal experience, I think Gojira would probably be the nearest
Richie,
to this, you know.
You just took the words out of my mouth.
Cool.
Gojira, obviously, a very progressive death metal band from France. Two brothers in the band playing exceptional music, playing exceptionally live, and playing the most amazing gigs ever.
I got a butt in, Donnie. I did see them, and I thought they were really good.
Yeah, they are very, very good. They played a few gigs in Ireland, and unfortunately, again, I did not get a chance to see them live. But I was over in Bloodstock a couple of years ago, and they were on before Mastodon, and I think they came back last year. I think it was the last year, Richie.
Correct, yeah, they were outstanding.
I think they headlined on the Saturday or Sunday, whatever. But they were exceptional. They really have something special. They have something that the crowd can appreciate. They kind of cross boundaries because there's so many boundaries in it, or borders in heavy metal. But I think Gojira have kind of established a core fan base that everybody loves Gojira. Not because it's trendy to like Gojira, but because they're a good bloody band. They look good, they act good, they perform good. The drumming is outstanding. I think the drummer is related to the singer, if I'm correct. Yeah.
Yeah, they're brothers.
Yeah, they're brothers. Yeah, and I've seen. As I say, I've been very, very, very fortunate to see him twice, and I'm looking forward to seeing him a third time. And their albums. I mean, the last album. Actually, they have a new album coming out this year for all you guys out there. It's in the recording process at the moment. But their last album, I can't pronounce it, but it's so bloody good, because I have so many people who are kind of into like some of my friends like love a bit of a Dark Throne or Dark Funeral, or some of my friends that are into like Lamb of God and stuff like that, and they really, really enjoyed it, because I think that Gojira, for some strange reason, exude a kind of enthusiasm for music that we all enjoy. Their heart, their soul, their background, their determination, they're just love it. And when a band play that well live and play that well in a recording studio, then fans pick up on that and they kind of go, do you know something? These guys are cool, and I'm going to listen to their music, and not just listen to it, but I'm going to make an effort to get in my car, put a few dollars in my back pocket, go to the local record store and buy the fucking thing, okay?
Cool.
So that's what I recommend, okay? Sorry about it, Richard. Am I waffling on here?
No, it's all good.
No.
Lads, it was a pleasure to have you in the metal cell.
Thank you.
As prisoners for the last hour or so.
Of war.
So thanks very much for listening. And check out the Metal Cell podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and email me at themetalcell@gmail.com. Yeah, baby, yeah.